Braves are back in the win column. It's Thursday night. There's football on, apparently. So that means let's get to some Braves talk. After a big win against UTSA, the Braves are back with the positive momentum, and that means the boys of Braves Talk are back. Welcome to Braves Talk, everybody. As always, the Iceman, Matt Freites, the coach, Brad Powell, and of course, the man, the myth, the legend, the local celebrity, the OG, Rick Powell. Gentlemen, welcome.
Iceman, Dad, OG, Braves Nation. How we doing tonight on this fine Thursday? Yes, there is Thursday Night Football happening for those of you.
Who cares?
Looks like the Commanders are out to an early 7-0 lead over the Eagles. But I mean, it's a great matchup. But I've been so out on the NFL this year, man. I've just had a hard time watching it, and it stinks. I love football, but I think the college football has been so good that I just have had a hard time following it, man. Hey, Wes, how's it going? Glad to see Wes in here. We'll have to get Wes on the show one of these nights. Wes, you have to reach out and let us know how to get that set up. But happy about the Braves getting back in the win column. They got off to a little bit of a slow start the other night, but got things figured out, and I'm sure Dad has plenty to say about it. I know he's pretty pumped about the 3 signees from today.
Oh, yeah, I love the signees. I'd get them past the game. What I'll say about the game, though, is very exciting first half. Went out and got the big lead, and then I'm disappointed in our second halves of late. All three games so far this year. Yeah, I know Coach Wardle's not very happy about it either, but hopefully we get that changed around and get her going.
Well, it's like we talked about last time. It's all about that playing a full 40 minutes, right?
Yep.
And even when you're out to what feels like a comfortable lead against what you feel like is a lesser opponent, I love the fact that Coach really emphasizes playing the game the right way the whole time. And you could see his frustration. I mean, I think this year, it's only been a couple games, but he has been more visibly frustrated with a 20-point lead than I've ever seen him, I think. And I think it's just because he knows how good this team can be. I'm sure he sees a lot of it in practice. He knows their capabilities. And, it's no different than your child or anything else. You stress something over and over again. You work on it. And then you go out there to execute and you feel like it's not a lack of talent by any means. It's a lack of focus. And That stuff as a coach is extremely frustrating because a lot of that is it's a choice, right? So I think I can completely understand his frustration.
Yeah. He needs to, get on the guys because if you let little things go, the finer points, stay in focus and such. It'll get away from you and then it'll hurt you, in the long run down the road. So, 20-point lead, you still got to attempt to try and play as perfect as you can. So,
this is the time where Coach Wardle is learning about his squad. He's not only learning about the players, he's learning about the way that they fit together, the best combinations that are going to get him through the conference season, right? And I think when you look at the way that things have gone since our last episode, sure, the Braves lost, but I think they probably learned some things. Then you bring that back, you bring back the positivity, get back in the win column, you figure some things out. Sure, they do have a lot to work on, and I think we all probably would like them to look a little bit better, even in winning, right, the last couple of games. However, I think that when you look at the way that they are trending, I think when you look at the way that the pieces are kind of falling together, some of the leaders are coming out, and that's what you want throughout the season. So I think this win, even though maybe it wasn't as grand as maybe the SEMO win was, I think that it still has a lot of positive things to look at. So I think we should break that down. But before we do that, I do want to allow Brad to shout out another fan interaction. So your other big fan is in the chat right now, Wes, but you also had another fan interaction that I think we should acknowledge out front because without the fans, this doesn't exist.
Yeah, no, it's always exciting, man. I see the names in the chat on X that we have and popping in the chat here and everywhere else. And so it's always fun to kind of put a face with the name. And I was going down to use the bathroom and grab another beer. And I bumped into Josh Sepich, came up, introduced himself, said he's a big fan of the podcast and the show and enjoys it a lot. And that was awesome, man. It was great to hear that people are enjoying it. We really like doing it. And it makes it even that much better knowing that you guys like it. And so Really appreciate the kind words, and we're here, man. We'll be here as long as you guys keep listening.
Yeah, what is it that Coach Prime said? You know how to find me or whatever. What was it that he said earlier this season?
You know where to find me.
You know where to find me. Yeah, that's right.
No, man.
Yeah, you know where to find us. But we are here. We're here to bring back the positivity. So, Brad, why don't you start the breakdown of this game, and then Rick, I want to hear some of your thoughts after that.
Well, one thing I want to mention, and I guess it was just a Tuesday night game as opposed to the prior game being on a Friday, but 4,000, 5,500 in attendance. And I think that, or 4,550, excuse me, in attendance. And I think that there's one thing that's always frustrated me, especially in the last decade. And that's, I feel like the fan base is kind of a fair weather fan base at times. And it's like at the first sign of adversity, it's like attendance drops slightly because of, a tough loss on the road at Washington State. And there could be plenty of realistic factors that are playing into it. I'm certain I'm looking deeper into it than is necessary, but I just
in a few minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. I just think it's always it's interesting. And I think Coach even mentioned on the postgame show how
2 in a minute.
Yeah, he mentioned how
something.
Yeah, I'm gonna put you back on mute. He mentioned how the fan base kind of seemed checked out a little bit in the second half. There weren't a lot of plays to get the fan base into the game. It seemed kind of quiet. And I think that the fans probably did the same thing that he's mad at the players for doing. And that's sort of mentally shifting on to cruise control and thinking, we got this thing in the bag. And so let's just kind of, I spent most of the second half turned around talking to Kevin behind us, and just kind of casually watching the game at that point. I wasn't as engaged as I typically am. So, I can understand the frustration for sure, but some positives obviously coming up from away from a win. Duke Dean, with 22 points back in double digits, which is great to see after kind of the rough start. He's been off to a little bit as far in the scoring column. He hasn't been what we've been used to seeing. So nice to see him get back there. And then we also got double digits from Almar, Darius, and Zeke, which was fantastic. And this is like 3 games in a row maybe where Almar's gotten himself into double digits, which is good to see. The big thing for him is we just got to find a way to keep him out of foul trouble. And then Christian Davis, he didn't have a great night offensively, but one thing that I think we're starting to see is, and now I'm not going to say this is a reach a little bit, but I want to give credit where it's due. And Christian's he's almost like Malavai light. He's finding ways to show up in the box score and impact the game, even if he's unable to have the success on the offensive end that we would like to see. And he's doing that through, he had 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals. So he's still stuffing the stat sheet, even, if he's unable to put up the points that he would like to put up. And he seems to remain mentally engaged and give effort throughout the game, even if his shots aren't falling. And, those are the types of guys that coaches love. And I do think that one thing, I won't say that maybe hurt us down the stretch in the second half when, Almar got in foul trouble and stuff. Only 11 points from the bench the other night, which was, what 3 of them came from Bully. I think Connor Dillon got 5, so, that's, what's that? 5 and... So 9 of them came from those 2 guys, if I'm looking at it correctly. Or no, 7. 7 of them came from those 2 guys, 7 of the 11, and then Meta with 2. So, not what we need from the bench, but, Dad, I'll kind of let you hop in and maybe, I guess criticize what I have to say or compound on it, whatever.
Yeah, Meta had 6, not
okay.
2.
Sorry, I probably had it off. I'm looking here.
Got to give him credit when he gets
it. 6?
Yeah, he had 6.
Oh, I'm looking at the freaking rebounds category. No wonder.
Yeah. No, okay, as a team, I'm 48 boards. Professionals. As a team, that's good sign. Almost 42% from 3. That's good sign. Thankful for Duke. What was he? 4 of 9. Almar is 3 of 7. He was 3 for 3 in the first half, and he didn't hit one after that.
Somebody must have said he hasn't missed yet.
I did not say a word.
I'm not saying you did. I'm
saying
somebody
making
did.
Sure, I don't say that. For those out there. The first game, what was it? Zeke went off and hit, and I happened to turn around to Kevin and say something. He ain't missed yet, has he?
And he never made another.
I don't think he hit another one after that.
And then didn't Kevin did the same thing in the X chat Friday night about somebody. I can't remember who it was. It was Connor Diller, but he made a comment that he hasn't missed yet, and then he didn't make another one, I don't think. Or maybe he did eventually, but he missed the next couple.
Yeah.
Kiss of death.
Anyway, also the other night we're without Birch, so that's going to hurt us a little bit. Some defense is going to be able to tighten down on us a little bit, maybe because of that. Because now we only got one, maybe two of the guys that's even willing to drive to contact. But everything else to me on that looks good. Free throws, I think, are better now than we've had in the last few years. We're in the last 3 games, we're in the low 70s, where I think before we were in the mid 60s, it seems like this time. Just not very good free throw shooting. But let me get onto the crowd real quick. Because Coach Wardle, he didn't scold us. He wouldn't do that, but he did bring the fans up, that we weren't getting into it. We were in the first half, but then, when you get a big lead, that's part of the problem. And not that it's a problem is from the fans, because we like to see the big leads, but then when play gets a little ho-hum, which it kind of did, and because
there weren't a lot of exciting plays.
UTSA, San Antonio, they actually beat us the second half. So there wasn't a whole lot for us to get in. And Coach knows this. Peoria basketball fans, Bradley fans, very knowledgeable. We know. I mean, because the meta deal, it was talked about a little bit earlier this afternoon on one of the mutual board deals. And when he stepped back behind the 3 and just kind of like give that little fake, the entire crowd. No.
Yeah. You almost heard the crowd like in unison, say no.
And I'm like, oh, he punked the crowd. Good job, Meta. But hey, if he'd have shot it and made
the roof would have blown off the place.
Yeah, the roof would have went off. But then he would have also probably got sent to the bench.
It would have been the first and last 3 he made this season.
But no, I mean, we're getting better. I mean, we're better, or it looked to be a little bit better this game than our first game against SEMO. Still a lot of work to do defensively. We gotta have other guys more than Christian Davis pick up on the defensive side a little bit, and without fouling. I know Almar's trying. You can see the effort, and he just, a lot of his fouls are just like the incidental ones, trying to make a play on someone shooting, and it's not rough or anything, but it's still contact, and he's getting caught because it's out and wide open. But
yeah, I mean, you're right. We're getting better. Obviously, there's some work that still needs to be done on the defensive end of the floor. Too many turnovers, 18 turnovers as a team. UTSA scored 25 points off of turnovers, which is a lot. And so, that's something I know that coaches all over. I mean, that's something that seemed very obvious to us. For stretches in the game, we turn the ball over a lot, and that's just not something you can do. I mean, let alone that's not something you can do against UTSA. That's definitely not something you can do against the big boys and the better teams in the conference, and the San Franciscos and the Princetons and the USFs and whoever else. I mean, you can't beat good teams when you turn the ball over like that. So plenty of stuff to clean up there, but we know this team's talented. I think it's just going to take some time to get them to play together, to be connected, as coach says. And as much time as these guys spend together, you really can't simulate these real live in-game situations and the emotion that comes along with it. You can do everything you want in practice and scrimmage and go hard and whatever else, but until you go out there, the lights are on, the crowd's there, real officials, real fouls that count, like everything else, you just don't know, and you got to give it a little bit of time for these guys to come together. I feel like, we're making little improvements here and there, game after game. We hope it keeps going that way. It'll be, I think, as the turn, we'll talk about Myrtle Beach a little bit here towards the end, but it'll be curious to see how the team performs in that environment. It's they're going to be out there for probably like 4 or 5 days at least. And it's, kind of a, in some sense, it's probably going to be fun, but it's also a business trip. And can you stay focused? And they're probably going to play inside of the equivalent of a high school gym. So you're not going to have the typical crowd that you would normally have. And so it creates an interesting environment that requires you to stay focused. So there's going to be some opportunities for them to do some growing, and definitely looking forward to that. But there's a lot to be excited about when it comes to this team.
Yeah, and I think too that it's fair for us to look at this, right? We're talking about the team, we're talking about the players coming and growing together. I think it's also fair to think about Coach Wardle, and I think Coach Wardle obviously has a coaching style. he is going to coach that way. But I think he's also trying to find a sweet spot of how to coach them, how to get the best out of them. And I think performances like this, when you see him be so frustrated, but that's obviously because, hey, we've been working on some things and he's now getting into his rhythm on how to coach them. And like when I look at this stuff, I know that when tournament time comes, we're going to talk about non-con and all that kind of thing. And I think overall the Braves should be okay through their non-conference schedule. They should get some good wins under their belt. But that conference slate is going to matter, right? The conference tournament's going to matter. Arch Madness is going to matter. And I think if you're talking to Coach Wardle behind closed doors, he's thinking about that time period. This is the time to really get that straight, see how you are against competition outside of the conference. And then now hopefully you get into a rhythm once we kind of turn the calendar over into the new year, start to get that conference slate going. And that's kind of when I'm thinking about Coach Wardle, when I'm listening to you guys talk about this, I'm thinking he's trying to figure it out too, not because he doesn't know how to coach, but because this is a new group of guys. You're losing a Mal, right? Like Mal not being on the floor is huge. And so you're trying to replace a ton of different things. And there's going to be some growing pains, but there are things that can be fixed. Like so far, watching them, I don't know if you guys agree. I haven't really seen anything that's like, wow, that's not fixable. Like we're toast.
Yeah, a lot of it's just focus, mental focus, and a little bit. I don't even say effort, because I feel like the effort's there. It's just directing.
You don't see in a stat sheet.
Yeah, it's more like putting the effort towards the right things at the right time, I would say. I think we play hard. And yeah, Wes, absolutely right, man. 3 games in 4 days, great simulation for March Madness. That's one of my favorite things about these tournaments, holiday tournaments, things like that. I'm glad that this one's 3 games. A lot of them seem like they're only, I guess you get the one usually at home against a bad team, and then you go to the site and play 2. But it's nice that we get 3 and 4 days. That is good simulation. And let's be honest, I don't want to be too much of a Debbie Downer about the league's at-large chances, but with the way the non-con's gone so far, it's not going well, and as a whole, top to bottom. And so it's really hard to get too optimistic about the at-large chances for anyone in the league. It's really going to come down to winning Arch Madness, I think. And so doing things like this to prepare yourself to be ready to play those games and to grind it out in St. Louis is going to be invaluable.
That's a lot of pressure too.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're picked the number 1 team, preseason favorite, right? It's definitely a lot of pressure, because it's like anything less than that's going to be considered a failure, not just, within your own locker room, but around the league, around your fan base. And it's a lot to carry that around with you, even throughout the season. I feel like at times you can see the frustration, because these guys know what they're supposed to be doing, at least, from the predictions and things like that. So you can see the frustration when things kind of aren't going so well.
Go ahead, Rick.
I'm stuck.
You're stuck.
No, because we've hit it about all the stuff. The Valley's down. We got 5 new coaches and virtually 5 teams that are top to bottom new players.
It's like UIC's playing a little tough, huh?
Well,
it's maybe too early to tell for sure, but
But Rick, you got to remember, we talked about it though. The Valley really got overrun and overturned in a lot of different ways. And we talked about Valley being so consistent. And so it's not really an indictment on the Valley as a conference historically that this might be a year where they feel more one-bit conference, even though historically, obviously, they usually are. I think it's just, this is the cyclical nature of where we are. NIL and transferring and all of that stuff has changed the entire landscape, and it's now trickling down even more so to the mid-level conferences like the Valley. But the Valley is still quality, and you never know. By the time we get to February, we might be talking about, wow, these teams really turned it around.
You take the strength of the schedules, who everybody's going to be playing. It's like our loss to Washington State. We're down about it, but if for those who haven't really vested in looking, that's going to be a very good team. They were in the one. What are they now? Like 80, or they're in the 90s now.
Like 96 or something like that.
They're going to be down in the 50s or better.
I hope so.
By the time it's all said and done, they are a very, very good team. There's not going to be many teams go out there and beat them. And let's maybe I should pull back a little bit, because let's go watch them tomorrow. Get on ESPN Plus or whatever channel they might be playing. They're playing over at Iowa City tomorrow night against Iowa. So I think it's like a 7:00 game. Watch them.
That'd be good litmus test.
It's going to be where they're at. Well, their first 3 games, they're 3-0, and their first 3 games have all been been at home. So and get them out on the road against an even better team.
Weird things happen in Pullman, Washington.
Yep. That's right. Yep. As we saw the other night.
So, but I mean, and we've got some pretty good teams coming in, and this tournament we're going to, and we'll talk about it a little bit more later, but I will put it this way, except one team, it is not a dog crap field
yet.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see how it ages. But we'll get to that. But I mean, let's not look too far ahead, because obviously we got the Northern Illinois Huskies coming to town.
I was going to say, don't overlook them. Notre Dame did earlier this season, so Bradley cannot do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Different scenario. Let's not go there.
But I think you're talking about a 2-1 team coming in with wins over Monmouth and Holy Cross. They did lose to Georgia Southern, and I think that it's a team that this is a game that I feel like Bradley needs to come and show up in. And I feel, what are some of the comparisons, Rick? Like, what's your breakdown of this team coming in?
They're 307 in the Ken Palm, which is like what, 15 spots better than SEMO. They're a little scrappy. They're not very big, size wise. I think 6'9", 6'10" might be big as they go, but they can play scrappy. Couple points of emphasis. They shot against Monmouth. Some of the things they shot 45% from three, just under 70% at the line, but they did get there 35 times. They did get out rebounded by Monmouth 43-37.
Good Lord.
That's not a good sign.
No.
So,
I mean, we should crush them on the ball. I mean,
should crush them.
That's a point of emphasis. I feel like, compete, defend, rebound. And, so you got to feel good about that.
Yeah. Now they had one guy. They had four guys go to double figures. They had a guard, Jones, who put up 22 points, only had 2 rebounds, 3 for 6. I don't see what he played 40 minutes, so he was in the game the entire time.
You don't see that much anymore.
No. But there wasn't that many guys that played. 22, 10, and 15 points. Nothing stellar. Like I said, I think the only thing that'll stand out is, they're watching from three-point land, because they can, some of them can hit them. They're 2 for 3, 1 for 3.
Well, and one thing to remember too is that playing Bradley for some of these teams, Bradley's worked their way up there. They're a very highly thought of mid-major, and this is an opportunity for a lot of these programs to go get themselves a good win.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you're going to get these teams' best shot.
Yeah.
No, Bradley's not a Power 5. It's not the same as going to Cameron Indoor to take on Duke or whatever. But it's definitely a team that's 200 spots ahead of you in the Ken Palm, and it provides a chance to get a great signature win. And here you even have the layer of it's an in-state opponent, which adds a little bit of I don't know what to call it rivalry by any means, but it certainly adds another layer of competitiveness to it.
Well, I look at this, we should be well ahead of them at halftime. So what I want to look for
finish
is let's come out second half.
Yeah.
They've got the hashtag prove them. Come on, prove them. Prove us.
With about 10 minutes to go in the game, they need to put the graphic up on the beautiful new scoreboard from Mortal Kombat. Finish him. And just take it to him. Instead of prove him, finish him. That needs to be the motto.
But this is where the focus is going to come in. This is a team you need to stay focused on, because you should beat them, and you will beat them if you stay focused. But if they lose focus, then you're going to have another terrible second half, and that's not a trend we want.
Yeah. No, not at all. And I know that people get frustrated if you see, when we get in these games, we're up 20, 25 points, and you see some of the starters still out there and playing, and people are like, "Why you got them out there? These guys are going to get hurt." You can't
minutes
until these guys prove to you that they can play a full 40 minutes. They're going to play a full 40 minutes focused with great effort. Until they prove to you that they can do that, you have to keep them out there, I think. And then once you get to the point where you can trust them and they've proven to you that they can do that and they're going to do it under any circumstances, then you can get to the point where, you're up by 25 with 8 minutes to play. You can take your foot off the gas, I guess. Get those guys off the floor, get them a little rest, especially once you get into the season.
Guys.
Yeah, get the bench involved. But at the same time, though, we know with these metrics in the net and everything else, margin of victory matters. A lot of this stuff matters too. So the style points come into play as well.
Yep, that's why I'm going to say if you're up on them 15 at half, you at least need to come out. Given that you might be putting in some of your deep bench, you better beat them by 10 in that second half. So 25-point win. That's the way I see it. But
yeah, I agree. It's an opportunity for the Braves to kind of pad their resume a little bit, right? And these things are going to matter, and they're going to matter very heavily, especially if Bradley does what we all think that they can do, win the tournament, seeding, all that kind of stuff. Like, there's a lot that it could affect. It sounds ridiculous to think about Northern Illinois in the beginning or mid of November, but every single game matters, and this game is going to matter. So that's a game to look forward to. I believe that's next Saturday, gentlemen, at Carver.
Yeah, this Saturday. You have 2 days. Carver, it's a 7:00 start. So, I mean, good opportunity to draw a good crowd, I'm hoping. And maybe with Northern being close, maybe they'll bring a few fans too, which always makes it a little more fun. And we can show them what real basketball is all about.
That's right. So we're also looking ahead to Myrtle Beach. Obviously, the three of us will be there doing a live show because, we want to go to Myrtle Beach. I wish. I know. That was something actually we talked about. I think a lot of people thought maybe going to Myrtle Beach. I'm sure some people who are listening to this will find themselves down there. It is close to Thanksgiving after all, so why not spend the holiday in a much more temperate climate than I'm sure Peoria is right now. But Rick, you did talk about how this wasn't I believe you said dog crap field, but why don't we do a very brief overlook on what that looks like, and hopefully we'll get a show in between now and then.
I said dog crap basically kind of
in jest
of someone on board over the summer called the field the dog crap field.
Is this a beef between you and this person?
No.
Okay, all right.
No. There's a lot of people that aren't fans of the non-con schedule in general. That's fine.
So I think a lot of people go off of name of a school, which a lot of people probably didn't know who UTSA was, and thought, okay, it's a nobody school. Those guys are going to end up being pretty good too. But I'm just going to run down this. This is the net of the field of each team in the field.
Net or Ken Palm? Or what are we talking?
Or Ken Palm, excuse me, Ken Palm. The worst team is 303. That's Portland. They're 1-2.
Who we most likely won't play, hopefully.
No, I don't have the brackets here in front of me.
I don't think they're on the same side.
Because we can cover that another time. But then you got Wright State at 189, and then Ohio at 161. Texas State, who we play, is at 132. They'll be the second best team we've played so far this year. So, and they're very pesky. They will be handsy. They're not really tall and big either, but
their only loss is a close game at TCU, right?
Yeah,
so far
they lost by 5 at TCU just a couple days ago at TCU. So they are 2-1, and then after that we got Middle Tennessee State, the 129 at 3-0, South Florida 127 at 1-2, Princeton is 87 at 3-0, and then of course us, we were at 98, and we're 2-1. We'll be 3-1.
So, I mean, obviously we get Texas State for sure. Then the hope is to get Princeton in the semis, right?
Yep. I forgot who the heck they play.
And then, I don't know. And then, I guess, USF maybe hasn't gotten off to the start that, they had hoped they would. Obviously, losing their coach and everything was, I'm sure, very difficult to deal with on multiple levels. But hopefully those guys are getting it going a little bit, because you want to play teams that are winning games and that are playing well, because those are things that, one, make you better, and two, again, help the metrics.
Yep. So that's just a look at that.
But even then, just like Wes said earlier, man, 3 games in 4 days. Even who cares who they're against? 3 games in 4 days, going out there and experiencing that, and having to get yourself ready to play mentally and physically, dealing with the adversity that brings along. They're going to learn a lot about this basketball team over those 4 days.
Yeah, it's going to be.
It doesn't look like we're going to be playing anybody above 200. So on the
fantastic
Ken Palm, so that's good.
Yeah, so lots to look forward to. I think we can do a more thorough breakdown of the Invitational next week, and hopefully by then we'll have a winner under our belt, and some folks will be excited about it. Maybe we can even get more people here in the chat, a la what we want to see at Carver. But gentlemen, I think this has been a good show. But Rick, you're not going to get off the hook before you give us Meta's stat line against Northern Illinois.
Northern Illinois stat line for Meta.
Here we go.
I was wondering if he's even going to play, but I'm sure he will. I'm going to go 6 points, 7 boards, 2 assists, and a steal.
No blocks?
Oh, gosh, he should probably have 3 blocks.
14 blocks.
All right, everybody. So what I want you to do right now, open up DraftKings. Make sure you go to the lines for this game. Put all of your money, all of your college, whatever it is, whatever money it is you're saving up for, put it all on that Metastat line, and Rick will pay you back if you lose. So, gentlemen, that's right. I think we have a lot to look forward to this week. I'm glad we did this show tonight. This is the third show for me in 2 days. So this has been a heater. I need to go do something, but I've had a really good time with you guys. So before we get out of here, do you have anything that you want to say to the couple people that we have in the chat and anybody who listens to this afterwards?
Go ahead, Dan.
Hey, if you're here in town, come on out to Carver. Come see us. Come see the team. The game. Watch it. Enjoy it.
Come see the team. He means come see me. I'll sign autographs. Yeah. That's right. That's what he means. That's okay. You got to self-promote. This is the game, fellas. Don't hate the player. Hate the game. Late at night. That's right.
The old man's tired. But no, I mean, hey, come out. Let's make Carver Arena rocking, yell, loud, all that good stuff.
Yeah, we got to get into mid-season form, man. As a fan base, get ourselves ready for the Valley season, and come out and have a big win, enjoy a nice Saturday night, and send these guys off to Myrtle Beach with a nice W with a good crowd. That'd be a lot of fun. As always, really appreciate those of you that have popped in, that have listened, that have engaged. Wes, it's wonderful to see you. Pre-game party at Kelleher's for Alumni Association and Braves Club. So you'll have that going on as well. It'll be a lot of fun. Go down there and have yourself a Guinness and some corned beef and cabbage or whatever before the game. They do have delicious food and everything there at Kelleher's. And it looks like there's going to be a pretty good Bradley contingent as well. So that's really exciting. Exciting Saturday night in Peoria, man. Really looking forward to it. Thanks, everybody.
I mentioned Braves Talk, get 20% off your meal, something like that. We got to get into the
we got to work that out.
Game, fellas. That's right. Well, everybody, this has been a great time. I hope you're having a great Thursday. I hope this finds everybody well and safe. If you're already following us, you know how to find us. But if you are listening to us in audio, don't forget, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. From me, from Rick, from Brad, this is Braves Talk. The opinions and viewpoints expressed on I&C Sports are those of Matt Freites, Brad Powell, and their guests, and not necessarily those of the Matty Ice Media Network. I&C Sports is exclusively owned by Matt Freites and Brad Powell and is brought to you by the Matty Ice Media Network.